On the final installment, we'll take a look back at the highlights of this season, and we'll see what's in store for next year. We'll head down to Baton Rouge to pick up our Yarborough custom calls at the LSU chapter DU banquet. And we'll introduce you to an extremely talented Louisiana native and wildlife artist, Chase Mullen. It's years like this one that you fully appreciate all the other reasons you duck hunt. It gives us an excuse to spend quality time with Dad, get out and connect with old friends, and make a few new ones. You do things during the season you wouldn't otherwise get to do. This year we hunted Tennessee's historic Reelfoot Lake with our old friend Mike Dolan, the hand surgeon. He had put our guide's hand back together a few months earlier. And then we hunted his place near Otter Slough Refuge in Missouri, the spot that Daybreak Outdoors guys called the Doctor's Pit in their video, The Freeze. Of course, we weren't as lucky when we were there, but we got a spoonie. We had some great hunts with John at Shell Shocked. We hammered the mallards in a dry field in Kansas. Got into some geese and crawfish at Stafford's place. Had a hell of a time with the Duck Nuts crew in the Atchafalaya Basin.
Made it. Damn.
And then we took the boys on a wood duck hunt for a waterfowl documentary on Louisiana Public Broadcasting. It's never the season you expect, but we had some awesome hunts, and we'll have some really nice stuff ready for next season. Back in the fall, we were invited to the LSU chapter DU banquet. Conservation's important, so we headed down to our alma mater to support a good cause. We hung out with the chapter and helped set up. Kanan Yarborough came up from Maurice to drop off the custom calls he'd been making for us. We wanted the Sitka orange and gray color scheme, and he pulled it off. He even put our logo on it and everything. So we got Kyler, our arch nemesis from Louisiana Bowhunter, to ask him a few questions.
What's your name?
Kanan Yarborough.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Tell
you.
me a little bit about your calls.
Well, this is a single reed, acrylic, hand cut, hand turn. Come up with the idea in high school, me and the buddies in the shop. After high school, I kind of quit for a little while, and then oil field kind of dropped. Me and the wife were talking one day. Said, well, I guess now is the time I could start my business, you know. So I bought a new lathe, started buying some acrylic, and started turning in the shop and grinding it out.
So you do everything by hand?
Everything's done by hand. Hand turn.
That's great, man. So I like to appreciate the fact that you do your own tone boards, you do your own barrels as well. So what's this style of call? What do you call
Open water. Open water, loud, in your face, just nasty.
That's great, man. It looks great. It looks really nice. Well, let's hear that.
Then we want to hear Richie hear that.
Nice. Sounds good, man.
Thank you.
100 A plus. And then of course Richie had to take a rip.
I like that one. Who's holding on to it?
When the banquet was finished, we headed over to see what Chase Mullen was working on in his studio. We've been following his work on Instagram for a few years now. He's got a way of painting all the native critters we're familiar with in this intricate style with very detailed realism and some touches of humor that makes it distinctly Louisiana. We're lucky to have him out there representing our state. He was working on a pelican piece, so we sat down and I asked him a few questions. Hey man, it's good to see you again. All right, big fan as you know. Most of your paintings are really fine and detailed.
Yeah.
Does that take as much time as it seems, or are you just able to whip all that out?
For me, I can't work extremely fast and loose. Most of mine stuff is really detailed and very time consuming. And I find when I try to speed up the process or loosen things, I'm just not happy with the result. I feel like everything I've done that I feel like took longer than it should have has been better. I've never spent a whole lot of time on something, really taken my time and been disappointed with the outcome.
I noticed an unfinished painting by the door, and he explained why he leaves it there.
Look at that, and I can see that there are areas where I rushed, I didn't do things right. So it also serves as a reminder to not do that, because it's not worth it.
Is there a painting or like a theme of Prince you sell the most of?
The white pelicans, people gravitate towards that. I don't really know what it is. I don't think it's necessarily like they're assigning meaning to it, but there's something about the composition and the simplicity of it, which a lot of my work is very simple and leans more towards contemporary. It could be that I've also only done them in like really grand scale. And I feel like scale, no matter what it is, speaks to people in a different way. I don't know, it kind of stops you.
So you grew up in Louisiana?
Yeah.
What part?
Baton Rouge. So, but I think, well, so I was 13, 14, my parents moved to Prairieville. When I was younger, we did a lot more duck and deer hunting. We lived about 10 minutes from False River. The fishing was very accessible. In those really like formative years, when you're figuring out like what your interests are and what you're good at, you know, our art was always, that's what I was good at. It's kind of hard to not sound egotistical. I mean, from elementary school to high school, like I was always the most developed kid in art class. You know, there's some the kids that are good at math and the kids that are good at football, but art was my calling.
It's not your fault you're a good artist.
Yeah, exactly.
While we were talking, somebody stopped by to pick up a print.
Like, so the 6 of them?
Yeah, do you have that?
I believe I do. You just have to give me a minute because I'll have to get them packaged.
My papa is a big sockeye fisher,
Okay.
and I showed you that picture of like he has in his shop of all the different
Yeah,
fish.
yeah.
So like I kind of started favoring the one with all the fish on it.
Okay.
I have a $100 bill. If you have change,
Let me double check. I might.
and if you don't, I
Were you pretty young when you started painting?
I had some family, friends of parents, you know, that would be interested in something I did. Like I had someone commission me to paint these barns that belonged to their great-great-grandfather. And I was like a teenager, so like selling a painting for 20, 50 bucks, like I was like, hell yeah, you know? Right. This is money for the movies or beer in my high school years. It was probably around 2012. I was in school, but I wasn't really in school, you know? I did a few like little arts festivals with just stuff I had done in school and in my free time. Ended up selling some stuff and I was like, well, I really like this. And if there's even the slightest chance that I could make money doing this, it's worth exploring. And that's when I shifted my focus from school, which was hardly a focus anyway, to making art full time.
You ever spend so much time with a painting that in some ways you feel attached to it?
I'm feeling
You
that
don't
way
wanna
with
sell
this
it?
one right now. Like I'm totally. I text my wife like the other night. That's before I had like the face or anything worked on, and I just like I think I don't know how I'm gonna feel about getting rid of this one. Like I might just do like a small run of like canvas prints and keep it. There's some, you know, I really feel that way about. I felt that way when I was working on that one, the flag. Like I was like, there's something real good, especially when I got it framed. Like just.
Yeah, I love how it comes out.
Yeah, and then it just there's something about that bevel with the flag and the colors. I'm like, oh man, like this.
When you said you had the original of that one, I was like, gotta get it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it hit me that way.
You know, I've traveled a little and I've lived pretty much all over the Southeast, but no matter where I was, I always felt like Louisiana was home. You know, like we have something special here. And you lived all over the world, but it seems like you feel that same sense of pride about Louisiana.
It hit me pretty hard when we moved overseas. That's when I started to realize, like, yeah, traveling's great and I want to see the rest of the world, but I wasn't disillusioned. Like there actually is something very, very unique going on in the South, and I feel like particularly in Louisiana, just because of our culture and the different cultures that have informed what we now call Louisiana culture. Before we moved, I felt like I really love this place. I don't ever want to leave this place, not only because I just feel attached to it and all my family's here, but I'm like, there's something special. But then I was like, yeah, but everybody probably feels that way about where they're from.
Right, you wonder about that.
So you want to get out and you want to see the rest. Well, I got out, I saw the rest, and it could still be like a sense of attachment. But my wife, who's lived a lot of places too, she decided she wanted to stay here. Her parents are from Washington State, and they lived all over the country, and they're pretty well traveled too, and they decided to retire here. So that also kind of helped reinforce my opinion of like, no, there is something unique about Louisiana culture.
We finished up our conversation with his thoughts on the importance of buying art.
What I try to instill into anyone that I talk to is not from the art world is that I think it's important to like buy art and have art. It's a very, very hard to convey like feeling of when you like buy a piece of art that you know who made it. And that goes with anything. There's a quote, "My morning cup of coffee tastes so much better because I know the guy who made my mug."
Burn off every